when you're, say, 22 to 25, you're kind of the first 2 years out of college, say you meet someone like yourself, or like, you worked on a project with someone like yourself, that staying up to in touch, it can feel a little intimidating, right? Because it's like, okay, I like told them everything I know. What else am I gonna, say to you, right? And I was just curious if you have any, you know, is it just something like, again, just keeping you updated about life or the projects that you're working on, or is there anything? Is it like an email every quarter or every half year? Like, how would you kind of think of that?
Yeah, I think it's as simple as every quarter, either sending a email or text, or even if you're not on that, a LinkedIn of like, hey, just wanted to check in and say hi. It's been a while since we've connected. What's going on in your world? And then that opens up the conversation, and the other person will share, and then you share what's happening with you. And just depends on the level of the relationship, right? So if you're closer with someone, you're probably texting them. If you're a little bit further removed, it's a LinkedIn message. But I think on a quarterly cadence, and it's not every quarter, but what I try to do is just think about it in sort of like cohorts of people that you stay in touch with, and planning it out in that way, right? So it's not like I'm talking to this person every quarter, I'm reaching out, but it's like, okay, I haven't talked to them in a while. Let me reach out. It's more that I every quarter am doing a reach out of some sort to someone.
How do you think a young professional coming into their first job, how do you think they should see their first 6 months? Or again, is it that focus on building network? Is it going to different divisions to learn things even outside of their roles? How would you kind of focus that?
Yeah, I would say in the first 6 months, it'd be about learning the team that you're on and what they're responsible, and learning the people and meeting the people that you're working with within your function or organization. Like, to me, that's the first 6 months, is really just getting your head wrapped around that, learning everything you can about the organization you work for. I think in your first year, it's then about how do you bridge into other parts of the company. So whether that's, you hear about some interesting project that's going on, and you reach out to the person that you see listed on a SharePoint site or something to say, hey, I saw about this. I have some experience. I'd love to chat with you sometime. Um, Doing those kind of things, getting that experience, that exposure. A takeaway I would say is that most people are willing to have a meeting or a call with anybody at their company. Like, I will meet with anybody. If somebody wants to chat with me about X, Y, and Z, it has nothing to do with my job, nothing to do with my day to day, I'm happy. I will take that call. And I would say I've never met resistance, but I think people are sometimes afraid to do that. And so my advice would be, don't be, reach out, and just set up time with people. And you're going to run into the occasional person that's maybe not going to be so kind.
And then, you talked about skills. I guess as you look at it now from an executive leadership perspective, what are the kind of skills that you look for in early talent? And, when you're hiring, is there are you seeing a shift, I guess, even from the, not necessarily technical, because obviously you need to be able to do some of your job, but like to those more softer skills as becoming paramount as well?
Yeah, I don't know that I'm seeing the shift in skills, but what I will say is, what I look for in particular is someone who's got like more of an entrepreneurial mindset. So someone who's curious, someone who's going to ask questions. I think that the folks who do that make really great team members, because they're going to push the envelope, and that's what we're all about. Is like, we want to innovate, we want to be the best, the fastest, and to do that, you got to push yourself, and you got to get in uncomfortable situations. And so I'm really looking for people who have that ability to like ask the question, be okay being uncomfortable, right? And learning from that, and moving forward. And again, I'm probably a bit biased because of my consulting background, but that's what I'm looking for, is people who are okay being put into a situation, and then, pushing outside of that zone a little bit.
I always get really interested by chief of staff because I always wonder, like, what is that? So I was curious if maybe even you could talk a bit about, like, what is that? Because it's kind of it seems like this interesting mix of strategy, operations, and in some senses execution. But I was just kind of, again, is that something that, you know, is it usually like a permanent role? Is it something that, comes in as a transition? How do you kind of see that?
Well, you nailed it. It is, I always describe it as strategy and operations. It is those two components. Because it's really about being a trusted advisor to the person that you're the chief of staff of, whether it's a CEO or, an EVP or whoever, a CFO, whoever you might be a chief of staff for. It's being that trusted advisor to then help them think strategically about what are the problems that need to get solved? What do we need to do from a planning perspective? And then the operations comes into, okay, you've identified the priorities of things that have to get done. Now someone's got to make sure that they get done. So how do they get done? You're not the one doing all of it, but you're, again, indirectly making sure that it's all happening in the background. And I'd say chief of staff, it can vary. I mean, some people, it's a career. They do it, they come into it, and you might become, chief of staff or a CFO, maybe you go to be a CEO, maybe you go to another company. For me, it was a way to come into Dynatrace and learn the company. And I had worked with our CEO. I had worked with him previously at Akamai. So it was an easy bridge for me to come in and say, okay, I know I can do this. They need the help. Let's go give it a try and see where it goes from there. And so that's where, for me, it wasn't necessarily a career. It was an opportunity to try something different and to help the company in an area where they needed some help.